Okay, so it's week 4, and I'll just give you a brief review of what we've done, a little preview of what we're going to do today, and then I'm going to have our own Tim Chester give you an update on the NABCEP. So let me just do 5 minutes of review, what we've done so far, and then I'll say what we're going to do today, and then we'll get down to what's going to happen at the end of the course. So what we've done up to now, covered some DC, covered some AC, so we know the electrical components. Most people who are taking this class already have that through other coursework in more detail, but just a reminder, that's what it's all about here. Typically converting DC into AC. We've looked at the fundamental components of energy and power, looked at the solar resource, done a quiz on that. We've also, looked to see, how energy hits the solar panel in the first place. So electricity, meeting the natural resource. Then a little bit of site surveying. So we looked at the Solar Pathfinder last week. I showed you an example of a site survey that I did right here in Missoula using the proper techniques. We also went through a PV watts exercise. So we took what data came to us from the Solar Pathfinder, we applied that to the PV watts, and the PV watts takes us straight into the economics. You plug in kilowatts per hour, which then at the end of the day gives you a simple payback. So we've really in a lot of ways come full circle with those 3 weeks. And so, with those 3 things, the electricity, the solar resource, and then, okay, how's it work economically? That's really your main tripod. Now, with that little foundation, it's time to get into system components. So here we are, the week of February 16th, and in fact it is February 16th today. But before we dive into this, I want to remind everybody of the fact that the culmination of this course is to take and pass the NABCEP exam, which we've got right here. So there's a couple NABCEP practice exams that will open up later in the semester. If you want to start taking a look at them now, I don't have a problem with that. Just let me know. Fantastic study guides as well, if you want to start looking ahead. Those are right there. Several forms to fill out, as well as some fees. So what I want to do now is just let Tim Chester talk to you a little bit about kind of the nuts and the bolts, what to expect on the NABCEP. I'm also going to have Tim just talk a bit about his own experiences, taking it, what to expect, because I've never taken the thing. I've sat for other professional exams. They're hard, they're long, you got to be ready. But I'll let Tim tell you a little bit more about that. Just not only the experience of taking it, but what we need to do right now in this course to get ready for it by May. So, Tim, you got the camera there, and unfortunately, only that screen isn't working, but this one's off.
Okay.
Okay, there you
go. All right, everybody. Talk to you about the NABCEP test. We're going to build up to that through the semester. You're going to have everything covered that you need in the class, really, to do it. But your Bible for this is going to be this book right here, the NABCEP PV Professional Installer's Guide. Get it turned here so we don't have a glare on it.
Yeah, push it right into the camera there.
Yeah, doing a weird.
There we go. Yep.
There we go.
That's good.
Okay, so that's the book that you're looking for, and Brad showed you on that link. Let me find that link on here. Maybe. Which mouse is it? Oh, I see what we're doing. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm working with 2 different computers, so I'm not quite as proficient. So the NABCEP study guide is this book that I just showed you. I just printed out a version of it. It's free. It's on the NABCEP website. You can print that out yourself if you so choose to do so. I want to say maybe Todd Carlson got it printed out. And I think he just took it like Kinko's or somewhere, or a Staples, somewhere like that. It was like $8, and they bound it up nice for him and everything. Or you can just print it in black and white on your printer at home. If it's well worth it. This book covers both the associate installer certification, which you guys are going to sit for, and it also includes the professional resources for the solar installer professional, which is like the highest level you can get in solar installation. So needless to say, if you know this book, it's like 167 pages, if you know this information all the way through, you are more than prepared to take the NABCEP associate exam. With that being said, it is not like any test you've ever taken at Missoula College. Like Brad said, it's a professional exam. They're very hard. It's in a kind of in a different, it's the same format. I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Maybe it's in a little bit different context. Just the feel that you get for taking the test just feels completely different in how the information is put across or how you're questioned on the knowledge. So definitely take a look at the practice exams. This is the only requirement for you to take this exam is that you take it. You're not required to pass it as your final exam, but you are required to take it. I'm here to tell you, if you're paying $125 out of pocket, which is what it costs to take this test, a couple hours extra studying over and above what you do for this class, you only got to get a 70% on it. If you walk in, pretty much, we've been working with industry a lot lately, and every single solar installer that I've talked to has said they will hire you on the spot with your NABCEP certification. And those jobs I just gave Brad the report on it yesterday. The national average for a solar installer with NABCEP associate certification starts out at $26 an hour. And talking to Orion, you guys all know Orion Thornton, Connor Darby over in Bozeman at On-Site Energy. Those guys straight off the bat, you have this certification, you walk through the door, $25 an hour, it's automatic, there's no negotiations, there's no anything. So I mean, it's a hugely valuable tool. And other than leaving with your degree or your certificate in energy technology, this is really the only thing you leave here with. And this is the thing that's the meat and potatoes of being able to walk into anywhere and get a job. So it is critical. I can't tell you how important, I can't stress enough how important it is. So one of the weird things about it, because it is run through NABCEP, which is the national organization that does this, is kind of like the, what's the electrical Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, something like that. IBEW. They handle everything for electricians. The plumbers have their own thing. Well, NABCEP is that for solar, and so you're getting kind of an equivalent certification to what those guys, what plumbers or electricians get. But because of that, it's pretty. They're pretty strict on what they do. So they have a 71-day window. We have to have our applications and payments in 71 days in advance, because they check every single applicant to verify that they meet the prerequisites for it, which this class gives you those prerequisites. By completing this class, you've had your 12 hours of classroom training minimum. They know, actually I think it's 40 hours to sit for the associate. They know you've had that minimum training, but they do check up on it. And then they have to get the test out and set up the testing site for the test administrator and everything. Like I said, this is not through the university, so we have to play by their rules. So it's fairly simple though. There's a form to basically fill out your name and your address and what program you're in. Take that and a check for $125, put it in an envelope. I believe NINA is going to be collecting them. But you can talk to Brad or I, either one, and we'll get you hooked up with NINA so you can make payment. 71 days figures out, if we take the test on May 12th, which is our week of final exams for this semester, means we have to have those in by February 28th, which is like 2 weeks from last Tuesday. So we're under 2 weeks now. So I need you guys to plan that's going to be happening. I will send out an email to everybody here on the Moodle shell, so that you know to get in here in the next 2 weeks, get your form into NINA, get your check into NINA, and get signed up so that you can do this.
Is that these forms right here, that candidate special?
I haven't actually looked at these. I'm pretty sure that's what those are.
Info sheet, and just see what comes up. I want to make sure it's relevant.
The candidate
info sheet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it tells you a little bit about it, and kind of everything that we do, everything I've dealt with NAMCEP is about 10 pages long and written by lawyers. But it tells you what their requirements are, that everybody has to fill out this form in order to do it. It's going to be done in paper and pencil. They do computer-based, but we don't do that here. We do pen and paper. Costs $75. Now I have to verify that they are allowed, the university is allowed to charge a testing fee on top of that. It's been 3 years since I took mine, so I'm not sure what the cost is now.
What you said, 125 is probably about right.
125 is, yeah, probably, think of 125 as a worst case scenario. It may be a little bit cheaper than
Yeah,
that.
it's just kind of covering.
But if you want a real cringe factor, take a look. My renewal is due this year. It's $390, plus I have to show 12 hours of continuing education in the solar field. So, but if you break that down, it's for 3 years, so it's $130 a year that you're paying for professional certification. It's still pretty cheap. And like I said, you want that $25 an hour guaranteed out the door, this is the one for you. So you have to sign the agreement with them. You have to get a score of 70% or above, and they'll send you a nice certificate. So that doesn't really have anything. That just kind of gives you the directions. So let's take a look at this one. There we go. Last name, first name, middle initial, email, your address. You're going to get a paper and pencil with your provider. Is the one that we're doing. If you need special accommodations, we can do that. Let them know.
Get it all signed.
Yep, get it all together, you sign it, we'll sign off on it, Brad will sign off on it as an instructor, somebody from the university will sign off for it as the provider. And just so you know, as far as the testing goes, I don't know a whole lot more than you because we're not allowed anything to do with the exam procedure. So I can't go in there and be a proctor for that exam, because I teach it. Brad can't do it. It has to be somebody independent of that, because they don't want us having the information and then teaching to the exam. That's basically what that comes down to. But that has all the information there to fill out.
That quick study guide really quick there.
Okay.
See what that guy.
And this one is like very, very quick. I remember opening this up. There's not a whole lot of information in this one.
No, it's there. I mean, it's just showing you there's quantitative questions is sort of the point there.
Yeah, and basically everything, even on the associates, you're going to see some stuff that initially you did not see in Energy 243, solar PV. Stuff that we don't cover that is covered on the exam. And that's why I go back to take this book and go through the NAPCEP study guide, and you'll find those information. I had 2 or 3 questions that, well, wow, we didn't cover that in class, but they were in the book. They were in the study guide.
Yeah.
So they are there. All this information, basically everything you're seeing here is stuff that you're going to need to know. And it's also fairly heavy on NEC, National Electric Code, which we kind of only brush on a little bit in Energy 243, but there's a lot of questions because when you're up on a roof, you're dealing directly with NEC code. So you will see some of that. So yet another reason to use their study guide as well. But they don't cover all of the NEC. They only cover 690 and 705, which are the 2 sections that are solar PV specific. But yeah, there's temperature correction factors. We don't talk too much about that in this class, but that's a big deal for rating your wire size for conductors because of temperature. And we have kind of the most extreme weather, both sides of the extreme. Talking with Connor the other day, and he was laughing that he was talking to somebody who did the, he was talking to somebody about an inverter. Then they said, well, what temperature range are you dealing with for capacity so we can figure out whether or not this works for you? Then he told them it was -30 to +130. And they're like, there's no way. Nobody has temperature extremes like that. Well, in Montana, we do. So that is a huge factor. So you got to keep that in mind that not everything for this class, or not everything for this test is covered in this class. So it's going to require a little bit extra study. At the same time, spend 6 hours, plan 6 hours to study before your NABCEP test, and out of that book, and you'll do fine. So, anything else you want to add to it, Brad? Or
Are there, just one offhand question, are there other, does NABCEP offer certifications in disciplines other than PV?
they do. NABCEP has certification. Well, they have these two different levels, but it's the.
I thought you mentioned maybe geothermal.
Yeah, they do. They
solar
also have
thermal,
geothermal, solar thermal,
energy efficiency maybe?
microhydro.
Okay.
So basically, renewable energy. These guys kind of cover the basis for. I only have experience with the PV right now, but my intent is to get those other certifications here before too long as well. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, I mean, please feel free to ask me. Ask any of the other guys that you know that are still hanging around that have taken the test. But I just can't emphasize enough, it is not like any of your tests you take around here. It's difficult. The testing facility, when you show up there, you're not allowed a wristwatch, you're not allowed a ball cap, you're not allowed sunglasses, no cell phones, no book bag, no anything. You're gonna have to leave everything at the door. Basically, you're there in a short sleeve t-shirt and jeans. They will give you the pencil.
Oh.
They will give you the calculator. You can't take in your whiz-bang scientific calculator. They will give you,
Yeah, 'cause
it's like very specific what calculators are allowed. And it's cool because, you know what, your calculations are basic algebra. They're not, you're not gonna be doing any, tangent, weird stuff. It's just basic math. But they are very strict about those rules. If you show up 10 minutes late, the door's locked, guess what? You're out $125 because you ain't taking the test. This happens once a year at Missoula College. The only other provider in Montana is Gallatin College, I believe, or MSU, one of the two. I'm not sure where they give the test, but they're both right there in Bozeman. And I don't know what their dates are either. But if you miss this, literally this is the once a year opportunity in Montana to do it. So that's not a day to oversleep or get a flat tire or anything. No food or drinks, you can't even have a bottle of water in there. So, like I said, it's not like anything you've ever done before. But it's a pretty good feeling to have that certificate and know that you got a guaranteed job. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Ted.
All right, yep.
Yeah, so just to reiterate one thing Tim said there is that this exam is the final for the course. You don't have to pass the exam to get to pass the course or get it, but you do have to take it. That's all. So, all right. So start looking at those materials, and in a week or two we'll dig some of those up. It'd be fun just to do a few of these in class and lecture, just to make sure we can move through it quickly. Tim, do you remember how many questions on the exam approximately?
I want to say it was about 75.
75 questions.
75 or 80. There is a time limit on it.
And it's 4 hours.
What it is, 4 hours?
4 hours. So you get 20 problems per hour-ish, or no? Yeah, ish. 20
there's some of them that are like,
Just
it's
buh,
A, B,
boom.
C, or D.
Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds. There's other ones that you'll spend 10 minutes on.
We'll spend some calculation
I
time.
take tests very quickly, normally, and I want to say it took me about 2 hours to take
Okay,
the test.
so you were able to do it in 2. Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking average question time would be 3 minutes per question, but some you read it and you're done in a couple. So.
Yeah, some of them where you're digging through the NEC for conductor size and stuff like that, or
table,
size of a conduit,
look
how many wires can you have in a 1-inch conduit.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff's going to take a little bit of time because you got to research, you got to look through your NEC book to find the code.
Yeah. So they're going to give you a table or a code book on some of
Yes.
these? Okay. So you don't have to have the book memorized. The point is you just have to know where things are and get through it. Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, I think
Well, at least
having this guy right here memorized would be a good idea.
Yeah, you should know that first column there, you probably better know that.
Knowing that in your sleep is critical, and we'll get into some of those.
And one of the things we don't talk that much about in here, that ISC, the short circuit current,
Mhm.
that's the really cold, when it's, 30 below zero, and your solar panels are maxed out, and your 12 volt panel is putting out 18 volts,
Mhm.
or 19 volts.
Mhm.
It's at its max efficiency.
Mhm.
So that number is critical because that's the one you have to design your system around. That number is the most important.
Mhm.
You'll find that in the study guide. It talks all about it and how to figure that out. And NEC is pretty good about explaining how it works.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, I'm going to take a quick break here, and then we'll get into the week 4 material.